Good morning, everybody. I realize this is probably the double helping of Scotland that you're getting. Don't worry, we're not invading. I realized I was talking to Nick, I met him for the first time last night, and realized we actually come from the same neighborhood in Glasgow, so great to be here and make connections. My name is Addison. I'm currently heading up Global Launch and Marketing Excellence at AstraZeneca. And I'm going to talk to you today about marketing in general, the current state of marketing, some future trends. And it's based off my transition recently from Global Head of Marketing based out of Cambridge to Barcelona. And I think for the first time in a while, it's safe to say that I was able to lift my head above the parapet and take a fresh look back at the marketing role and function. And I also had the opportunity to speak to lots of people in the industry. And so what did I see? Marketing is dying. Now that might seem a bit odd coming from somebody that works in marketing excellence, right? We are at a significant change. The environment is changing so rapidly, it's difficult to keep up. And so there's a couple of key things that are driving this change. One of them is this. I don't know if that looks familiar to anybody in this room. You could say this is relevant to any role within the pharma industry, but I think for marketeers especially, we're stuck in this constant vicious cycle of delivery. We very rarely get an opportunity, as I said, to lift our heads above the parapet and take a moment to pause, reflect, think about where we need to go next, think about our skills and capabilities. Does that image look familiar? And I know that being in a senior role, the more senior you get, you're stuck doing financial planning, right? Quarterly business reviews, long-term planning, mid-term planning. It goes on and on and on. The other thing that's happening is this. I talked about the external environment changing rapidly. Now, I'm picking on AI a little bit. You could say it's digital innovation in general. But even when you do have the time to think about investing in your skills and your capabilities, it's still difficult to keep up. Now, I'm going to let you into a dirty little secret. I'm sick of AI. Now, AI is everywhere, and of course, I'm being provocative, and I'm joking a little bit. But what this demonstrates, and by the way, if you are sick of AI, that's okay. Think about how many times you've heard it at this meeting. I was at a meeting in Madrid recently, and somebody actually counted the number of times that AI was mentioned. It was over 300 on the first day. I went back to Barcelona, and I went straight into my first meeting. It was about AI. All right, it's okay to feel a bit overwhelmed. But it also demonstrates that we need to continue to invest. We are in a different world, and if we don't invest, we're going to miss out on the opportunity, and we're going to get left behind. And if we don't do it, things can go terribly wrong. Just look at this. This was my first attempt at doing an image generation. Do you think I got the prompts right? This was actually for something serious as well. This was a brand mascot that I was trying to do for one of our CV products. And if anybody can guess which product it was, I will actually buy you a drink. So there we are. To reframe the conversation then, and I'm going to talk a little bit about AstraZeneca now, it's actually a great but very challenging time to be a marketeer at AstraZeneca. We have an industry-leading pipeline, but it comes with its own challenges. And to bring that to life, in 2028, we're launching multiple products. I think pulmonologists will be targeting with 9 different assets. So share of voice is extremely important, but share of mind is even more important. The other thing is that HCPs are already drowning in information from pharma. That number's from McKinsey, over 300 communications per month, and you can see that's increased 3 times since 2010. Now, we talked about AI. 40 to 60% of HCPs believe that their decisions will be driven by AI. And I actually disagree with that number because I think it's going to be a lot sooner than that. If you talk to any healthcare professional, they're already using ChatGPT to research, get information, and diagnose patients. So we have to continue to embrace change if we want to succeed. Now, I'm not going to go through all of these points on this slide. Just to summarize, and I think especially for us, but I know it's equally relevant to everybody else in this room, we're dealing with multiple different launches coming in a couple of years. Pascal set out a huge ambition for us in 2030 to launch 20 new products, double the size of the organization. And if we don't embrace change, we're going to fail. And the two things that are driving up those launches, but also, as I've mentioned, the significant rapid change in the external environment. So for me, when I'm thinking about marketing, and I think about what does our vision for marketeers look like in the future, is this. We need our marketeers to be strategic leaders that drive product launches and growth. We also need them to have that enterprise perspective. They've got to have these elements. They've got to use data, technology, and human creativity. And they have to be the catalyst for this transformation. So how do we get there? Well, it's not by staying in that vicious cycle that I talked about before. It's about embracing this. So this is the virtuous cycle of learning, where you think about the skills, the capabilities, and the mindsets that our marketeers need to have in order to excel in their roles. But how do we do that in such large and complex organizations, especially like ours? My advice, keep it simple. It's not rocket science. So these are the three things I like to follow. Engage, embed, and evolve. We have to engage the organization. If you don't engage and activate people, you've got nothing. You've got to embed those core capabilities, the skills, the mindsets, and capabilities. And third and final, you have to continue to evolve to keep up with market trends. So I'm going to talk a little bit about those in a bit more depth. So engage your audience. Hands up in the room, if I can see you. Who thinks that the external audience is important? So our customers, our healthcare professionals. Okay? And who thinks internal, so employees? That's actually not too bad. It's actually not too bad. So I'm going to talk a little bit about engaging your audience. Now, in previous roles, I had the opportunity to do internal engagement campaigns, plenty. And I prioritized other things. I thought, they're not that important. I need to think about my customer. But actually, I'm going to show you an example now just to prove a point as to how effective they can be. So when I joined the global part of the organization, I worked on our oral antiplatelet. To give you the context, it was a really tough time for the brand. We were trending at negative 18%. We were facing loss of exclusivity, competitor data, uncertainty in guidelines, and of course the pandemic. So it was a really tough gig. And most importantly, we had lack of senior leadership engagement. Our sales teams in the field generally felt beat up, right? So they were having a really tough time. And what we did is we launched this internal campaign called From the Heart, really designed to drive passion, belief, and commitment behind the brand. We used multiple channels, virtual and face-to-face events. We created an annual award scheme. The result of that was after 18 months, we had increased global revenue by 25%. It just shows the impact that you can have on the organization when you engage and activate your employees. I'm also doing something similar now for marketing under the umbrella term Architects of Ambition, which I'll touch on later on. So I talked about embedding those core capabilities, so the second E. Now, of course, frameworks will help. We've just refreshed ours. It does everything from insights to strategy to customer experience to KPIs. We've also included financial planning and reporting, which is a critical skill for marketeers these days. When I think about strategic planning in general, we started a shift towards disease strategy, sharpening our source of business approach. But we also have these underpinning competencies, right? We've talked about data literacy, AI, absolutely critical. Mindset, having a growth mindset. One of the ones I've talked about a little bit yesterday that I want to talk about today is storytelling, right? Now, talk about a critical competency. This is relevant not just in marketing, but relevant in all aspects of your life. Humans have been telling stories for over 50,000 years. I worked extensively with Andrew Wilkie, who you can see here. He's ex-M&D Managing Director for Saatchi & Saatchi. Now, together, we've launched campaigns, we've enhanced strategic planning, we've done disruptive thinking workshops. But the one thing that Andrew taught me from over 10 years of working with him is that reason leads to conclusions, and it's emotion that leads to action. We have to connect with people on an emotional level. You've got to engage both the left and right-hand side of the brain. It's about taking people from that place of understanding and moving them to a place of belief with emotional storytelling. I'm going to give you an example now. I just want you to take a look at this. Hands up in the room who felt that. Okay. I love that example because it just demonstrates the power that the emotional connection can have in storytelling, right? Here's the provocation. We invest a lot of time and resources in trying to get to that n=1 number, okay? Really delivering personalized content. So here's a thought. I've just managed to connect and move about 80% of people in this room with the same message. If you can find a universal truth, you can be relevant to everybody. So think about that the next time that you're creating campaigns, you're creating messaging. Andrew also has this beautiful phrase that I absolutely love, and I mentioned it yesterday, that data is a story with no soul. And I think it's up to us as we start to develop our messages to think about that in the context of how we actually engage with people on an emotional level. Okay, the final E. Looking ahead to the future. So where's marketing going in general? What are the current trends? So here are some numbers for you. 87% of marketeers feel that they're adding more value now than they did before. Then what's actually happening is they're embracing new technologies and they're freeing up time to focus on things like creating growth strategies or thinking about strategic direction. This one is really interesting, and I think that we've touched on this over the course of the past couple of days. 80% say that the experience is more important than the product itself. Now, that's a generalization. Okay, this is marketing in general across multiple industries. If you look at pharma, these are the stats. And what's interesting about this is the shift that we've seen. So 50% are still product features, but actually, the whole experience is far more important now to our customers than ever. So 35% is that experience and 15% company reputation. This is going to be no surprise. This one, omni-channel is continuing to be on the rise. 80% of companies now prioritize omni-channel marketing, and that delivers 30% more lifetime value, which I think we all probably know in this room. Marketing leaders leveraging generative AI, 80% say they'll be doing that by 2026. I argue it probably might be sooner, but is that the same for pharma? We talk about having to embrace new ways of working. This one, healthcare professionals still value face-to-face visits, but look at the shift. Again, this is taking an average over multiple different regions, but 39% still value face-to-face, okay? We need to drive value in every single interaction that we make. And what are our customers asking us for? They're asking for personalized, relevant, and timely delivery of messages. So where are we going at AstraZeneca? And I'll just touch on a couple of these. The day-to-day, I love what Marco is doing. You heard him yesterday. We are advocating the same thing at AstraZeneca. It's about how we can equip the teams to drive skills and capabilities in using AI tools, right? It's simple things, Copilot, ChatGPT, Jasper, Leonardo AI. Patient support, we're using AI to deliver real-time educational resources, not just to patients, but also to caregivers. The AI is profiling them and making sure that that content is personalized and relevant. Customer engagement, we're using VR, we're using AR to engage with our customers to create that experience, that unique experience. And digital insights is one that I just wanted to spend a little bit more time on because I actually think this is really cool, and it's a way that we're leveraging AI in a little bit more depth. And I'll maybe just play this, set the scene.
It looks that you haven't got a whole lot of time left.
Ya no hago lo mismo sin cansarme tanto.
He's recognized there's something missing. It was actually him. He needs to be that person for himself, not for someone else.
It's really up to the individual to take charge of our own health.
What is important is your attitude must change.
It's cases like that which is ultimately what we came in this profession for.
Without their support, I wouldn't be where I am now.
The patients are more informed, more empowered. It's incredible how many lives we can save.
There is only one shot at this, and only you have control of this.
What would I do if this was my brother or my sister or my mother or father? What would I think would be best for them?
They can see that a lot of these problems are actually fixable.
This is your life. You've got to fight for this.
So that was a film that I made with Fixing Us. I've worked with them for, I think, about over 12 years now. Maybe what you don't realize, though, in that film is that they're all real patients, real healthcare professionals, real caregivers. And just in the last couple of minutes, just to let you know, as I said, I think this is a really cool way to leverage AI. What they've ended up with over the course of the past 12 years of working with us is this huge repository that they now have of transcripts of healthcare professionals, of patients, caregivers, and they've built an LLM that can actually mine all of that information. And you think about it, the different types of footage that they now have, all the way down to self-filmed footage, what we create there is less bias, all right? So it's not coming from anyone in particular because it's self-filmed. So what we get are new insights. And it's just an example of how we're leveraging AI to drive application into new insights and really making the point of driving something new into strategic planning. So I'm just going to close on this slide, and my message is that up to all of us in this room who I would class as leaders in the industry, it's up to us to have the vision to drive change and be the catalyst for that change, but don't forget to take your people with you. I'm talking about the organization. You've got to invest in their mindset, their confidence, their skills, and their capabilities, because only then will we see the true opportunity. Thank you very much.